Tonight, we drift far from the warm villas of Rome and into the mists of the north, to a time when the empire's edge was shadowed by fear and silence. There, at the uncertain boundary between Roman ambition and untamed land, a legion vanished, the ninth, Legio IX Hispana, 10,000 men, simply gone. No word, no survivors, no final message, just empty fortresses, and questions echoing through time. But this isn't a tale of war and bloodshed, not here, not tonight. It's a story told slowly, in footsteps along old roads, in broken inscriptions, and the chill that lingers just beyond the reach of Roman firelight. So lay back, close your eyes, and imagine the tread of sandaled feet on frost-hardened ground. We begin with a march into the unknown. Imagine yourself a soldier. The year is somewhere around 120 CE. You're a part of Legio IX Hispana, a veteran legion, hardened in Spain, Judea, and Germania. Now you stand in Eberacomodorande, York, one of Rome's farthest outposts. The air is damp. The sky hangs heavy. Your orders are clear. March north, beyond the established Roman line, into Caledonia, the mist-wrapped lands of what is now Scotland. It's not your first campaign, but this one feels different. The supply wagons are loaded with salted pork, hard bread, and barrels of sour wine. Cavalry scouts tighten their cloaks. You hear Latin spoken in low voices, punctuated by the occasional curse against the cold. You pass mile markers, each carved with Roman precision. But soon, the road becomes less sure. The stones give way to dirt, then mud, then nothing. Villages appear, then disappear behind the fog. And then, as the days pass, there's only the sound of your breathing, your boots, the calls of ravens that seem to follow, always at a distance. At night, campfires flicker, but don't push back the dark. You huddle beneath your cloak, listening to the distant howl of wind across hills. You try not to think about the stories told by other legions of tribes who vanished into the land itself, of forests that shifted, of voices in the night that didn't belong to men. Your centurion doesn't speak of such things. He tells you to stay sharp, to watch the tree line. But each day, the trees seem closer, the mist thicker, the way back harder to remember. Then one morning, you wake before dawn, and the camp is gone. The fires are cold. The men around you, silent, not dead, not wounded, just no longer there. You stand alone, breath curling in the icy air. And in the quiet, you wonder if you ever truly left Rome behind, or if Rome left you. The ninth was never seen again. No record of return, no funerary tablets, no medals or mourning processions, just names scratched in stone, in a silence that outlasted the empire. What followed the ninth's final march was not a storm of grief or outrage. There was no great upheaval, no immediate retaliation, just silence. Official records stopped mentioning the ninth. One day, they appeared on a list, and then they didn't. The wall Hadrian's wall would not rise until a few years later. And when it did, it marked something more than Rome's new frontier. It marked a line between what the empire understood and what it no longer tried to conquer. North of that wall lay mystery, a place that the Romans came to fear, not for what it was, but for what it refused to be. Even in later reports, the ninth wasn't listed among legions sent into Britain, and no graves, no official ones, were ever found. But in the quiet lands beyond the wall, the people remembered something else. The Picts, the Caledonian tribes with no written histories, spoke of pale-skinned men who walked like ghosts, their armor rusted, their eyes hollow, moving in silence through the mists, never eating, never speaking. Children were warned not to stray into the high hills, not because of wolves, but because of the hollow men who marched forever through the fog. No army ever claimed to have destroyed the ninth. No bards sang songs of its defeat. There were whispers of a battle that happened in the night, of thunder without lightning, of a scream that never ended. But those stories were passed down like dreams recalled at dawn, uncertain, fleeting, strangely cold. Some Roman officers returned to Britain in the years after. They asked questions in the villages. They offered coin for news. Sometimes they received strange tokens in return. A belt buckle, a scrap of red cloth, a spear tip half swallowed by rust. But always the same answer. They marched that way, a hand pointing north, and didn't come back. Some theorized that the ninth was ambushed. Others claimed they simply dissolved, deserted, scattered, broken by the harsh land and its silence. But among the ruins, no battlefield was ever found. No weapons left where they fell, no rows of bones hidden beneath the moss. It's as though the land itself swallowed them whole. And over time, even Rome stopped looking. Centuries passed, the empire fell, and still, the ninth was not found. But the silence left behind. It lingered, not just in scrolls and forgotten corners of military logs, but in the soil. Archaeologists came in later centuries, armed not with swords, but with brushes and notebooks. They traced the path where the ninth was last seen, and they began to dig. In one place, they unearthed the remnants of a Roman marching camp, its outline faint, its ditches shallow with age. Inside, they found a broken eagle standard, the tip of its once golden wings now dulled with centuries of sleep. Nearby, the skeleton of a man, his spine twisted, his sandals worn through, but there was no plaque, no shield, no way to say if he was of the ninth, or simply another forgotten soul. In another site, deeper in the north, there were mass graves, but they weren't Roman. No armor, no coins, no signs of organized burial, just bodies laid down hastily, as if the land had opened up to catch them. Some say these were Roman auxiliaries, native Bretons allied with the empire. Others whisper that the bones didn't match Roman formations at all. And then there were the stranger finds, symbols etched into stone, circles around circles, marks that no Roman architect would ever draw. Some were scratched inside caves, high in the hills. Others were found near where fires had once been lit, now blackened and cold. What do they mean? No one knows. Some believe they were warnings. Others, invitations. Or perhaps, they weren't for humans at all. You see, the further north the searchers went, the fewer Roman traces remained. Roads ended abruptly. Fortresses became half-built shadows. And always, the wind howled, and the light faded early. It was as if time itself had passed differently there, less in hours and more in centuries. As if the land remembered something it refused to share. To this day, no one has found the full truth. The ninth is still missing. Not confirmed dead, not reassigned, just gone, lost beneath time, or something else entirely. There is one final theory. It does not come from textbooks. It was not written in marble or ink. It lingers instead in tales, whispered in the lonely hours when even fire offers no warmth. What if the ninth never died? Not in battle, not in retreat, but in another way. The people of the North, those who watched Rome from the edge, told stories, not of conquest, but of transformation. They say the men of the ninth crossed into a place where maps held no meaning, where paths shifted and night fell in midday, where fog curled like fingers and thoughts wandered from the mind like leaves in the wind. Some believed the legion marched into a sacred boundary, not of land, but of spirit. One tale speaks of a forest that could not be burned, that swallowed whole patrols and returned only a. Another tells of a hillside where time bent, and those who stepped across it were never seen again, or returned aged and silent, their eyes hollow, unblinking. A few whispered of a curse, that the ninth had angered something older than Rome, a god, or a place, or perhaps both, and for their arrogance, they were taken, not slain, but trapped, condemned to march still, forever beneath the cold stars, bound by duty and silence, a legion not of men, but of memory. There are those who claim, even now, to have seen them. Wanderers, shepherds, night travelers, they speak of rows of shadowy figures on distant ridges, gleaming just for a moment in the moonlight, then gone. No sound, no footprints, no sign of their coming or going, just the faint scent of old leather, and the metallic taste of something ancient on the wind. Even today, hikers in northern Britain sometimes find odd things. A rusted helmet, half buried in peat, a boot print, where no one has walked in years, and sometimes, just beyond the next bend in the trail, the sound of marching, soft, steady, and fading into mist. So perhaps, they were never lost, just changed, not fallen warriors, but silent guardians of a boundary, long forgotten. And maybe, when the world is quiet, and you are still, you can almost hear them, the last steps of the ninth, marching still. And so, the Ninth Legion remains, not just a mystery of history, but a soft echo in the long corridors of time. No tombs, no triumphs, just questions, and the whisper of armor in the mist. In a way, their disappearance tells us more than a conquest ever could. It reminds us that even the mightiest empires cannot command every shadow, nor leave a mark on every path. Some stories do not end with answers, but with stillness, and in that stillness, there is room for wonder. Perhaps tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might imagine those distant hills, cold, windswept, quiet as the breath between dreams. And in that hush, hear the slow rhythm of a legion that never quite left. Still marching, still remembered. Thank you for joining us on this gentle journey into the past. Sleep well, and may your own path be peaceful and clear.